doing all that stuff. So, you know, we're really excited about this new LMS. It's coming, and it's just, it just looks different enough to be shocking when you first see it. And then after getting a chance to kind of play around with it, I realized, hey, it's not that big of a deal. Most of the processes are pretty much the same. They're just accessed sometimes in a different way, and all the icons look different, you know. So that's why we're having these classes, so that you all feel comfortable with it. And when we do make that big switch, I got another one coming. It looks like the switch will be made August 15th. We're still waiting for verification from our developers. They've got to get a whole team of programmers working over the weekend to get all our stuff carried over. So we just want to make sure it's all kosher. If it's not August 15th, it'll be right around there. We're trying to do it before the start of a lot of people's new sessions in September. So you know me, you know Joe. Joe's going to join us here in a minute. And of course, just a reminder, the best way to get LMS support is always by emailing klmssupport@iwintl.org. We set up this great system a couple years back, and when you send an email to that address, it goes to a team here at headquarters instead of just me in case I'm out. And then a case is automatically generated, and you're just less likely for things to fall through the cracks and stuff to get dropped. So it's a great system. It's been really working for us. So let's get right into the new LMS Plus. Just talk about this new system and what's going on. So basically, it's our old system, but it's just been completely rebuilt from the ground up, man. There's nothing from the old system left except our data, which will get carried over into it. It was built using the most modern web-based technologies. It's running on fast Amazon servers. It's a great system. Highlights include the following. If you can mute yourselves, if you're not talking, that's great. Let's see, fully mobile capable. So this thing, it just runs great on mobile devices. And let me show you real quick an example of what I'm talking about. I'll go ahead and log in while we're talking. So this is the new LMS. It looks similar to the old one here. You know, we use the same graphics and stuff on it. But the login is a little different. The login's over here now. I'm just gonna hit that little key, and it asks me to sign in, and I'm signing in now. And again, it's the same thing. It's just called sign in instead of login, and it just looks a little different. And this is where it gets, you know, really different, right? This is very different looking. But again, it's all the same information once we get into it. So I'm gonna go ahead and log in as a local admin. So we used to have users and admin up here. Now they're all over here on the left. So this is my users and groups, right? I can go to users right here. I can drill down. I can find another one of my accounts and then log into that. So let's log into which one? That's a good one. I'll log into this one instead. Impersonate. This impersonate button I have right here, it allows me to impersonate any other individual on the LMS. So this can help out sometimes, especially with students, if they're having a problem and you just can't figure out what the heck is going on. You can log in to the LMS as that user, and you can see things just the way they would see it if they were able to log in. So we're talking about enabling this feature for local admins on the new LMS. So this is something you'll have access to. It's pretty cool. I've been using it for a while, but we couldn't, it was either all or nothing with the old LMS. This one, we can actually, you know, specify that, hey, you can only impersonate users that are within your groups, you know, and your local. So, hey, Joe. So I'm just getting into the very beginning here. I'm logging in as a different user, and I'm showing them the Impersonate User feature, which is something that we plan on offering in the new LMS that locals will have access to, local admins. So I'm going to log in as, I think, this one. And so when I click it, I'll now be that user. Let's see what happens. Am I kicked out maybe? Been sitting here yakking the whole time. Yeah, I got kicked out. Let me log back in. Oh, no, I'm signing as Bart. Okay, cool. So if you look up here, this is my login screen. And when I click on it, I can see that I'm an admin signed in as Bart Collart Local 99 admin. Yours would say another member's name. So you could see right away that you're logged in as a different person. And if you wanted to go back to your account, all you do is click on admin and it'll take me right back there. So it's a great feature. So now I'm logged in as a local admin instead of a super admin. And I see things more the way you would see them. Let's see, I can go to my dashboard. And now this is kind of where the rubber meets the road for our students. So these are all my enrollments. So you can see their enrollments look really different than they used to. Let me move this over here. Excuse me 1 second. Spinning plates. Ooh, I got a couple late arrivals. Let me let them in. Okay. So you can see this is my enrollments. They look really different, but it's the same thing. I've got history as one of my courses. We can put graphics in these now. So there's like pretty graphics for every one of our courses. If we want to, probably take a cover of the book or something and put it up there, right? You can get some information on it just by hitting the little info button and getting the course details. So, you know, it's just a different way of looking at things than we had before. Also, when I can also choose to how I want to see it. So right now I'm looking at the tile view, but if I go up here to list view, this looks a lot better on a phone. So this system was designed to really work well on smartphones first, where the old system was designed to look great on a PC first, right? But all of our apprentices are using smartphones for stuff now. We got to have this stuff, you know, readily available and easy to use from a smartphone or a tablet or any device. And that's what this does. They call that responsive design techniques, right? So now I've got this, I can see my whole list here. I can scroll through it. And you'll see what happens when I squeeze my window down to like more like I'd see on a phone or something. Yeah, I can still see everything. It's all really clear to me. And, you know, it just works great no matter what you're using, what kind of device. So on a PC, I kind of prefer that icon view. Just click on it, takes a second to load, bam, now I'm back. Now you see these little things up here called widgets. This is a new way of seeing things, right? So I could click on my transcript widget. And now I see my transcripts down here on the bottom. It'll take a second to load. I've got nothing on this account, so there's nothing to show you, but I'd see all the courses that I completed right here, like you do on the current LMS. There's things called learning paths. We'll get into that. And there's also instructor-led training now, which is much better. We're going to try to leverage that as well. Now, there's also a certifications. We don't really do that, and that'll be turned off for us. But this is how widgets work. And again, let me scale my screen down and see what happens with these widgets. Right now, the two on the bottom go into kind of a 2-column approach. I can still scroll through these. It's just kind of a different way of doing things. This, or if I was on a phone, I'd probably pick list view, and I'd see it all in a nice vertical list, like so. Yeah. Now the cool thing about widgets is if I'm using them, they're down here. But if I'm not using them, you know, and they're cluttering up my space, as an admin, you'll have even more. I might just go ahead and say, I don't need certifications right now. I'm going to close that. And I would just close that window. And now you see the little widget still appears up here. So all your widgets, if they're closed, would all appear up here. And then when you want to see one, you just click on it and it brings it down to the bottom so you can see what's in there. Right, and you can leave them open, whatever you want to do. So that's kind of what we mean by fully mobile capable. It's pretty cool the way it works. It's got some great features. It's got internal messaging features, which we've never had before. So now maybe instead of using the listserv, I could send all the coordinators who use the LMS, I could just send a message in the LMS, and next time you logged in, you would see that message. You get a little alert saying, hey, Bart, you've got a message, right? But the real powerful thing is that you all can send notifications to your own users and just your users. So you could send a notification to all of your users or just users within a particular group. So that's pretty powerful stuff. Again, we're not pushing notifications. They won't get the stuff until they log into the LMS. But when they log in, they'll see it. And after they've read it, it will no longer show as a new notification. That alert will go away, just like on your phone. Compatibility and migration. Let's talk about this real quick. I'll bring this back. All account profiles, active enrollments, completion records, courses, content, certificates, site branding, and email notifications are transferred from our LMS to the LMS Plus. When we make this move, it's all coming with us. All your data will be there. We talk about training. You're here now, so you've already heard that message. And again, we're offering it in Ann Arbor as well this summer. A full 10-hour training on both systems. We'll go through the new and the old. We'll do our comparison. So that's something I was going to talk about at the end, but because this is happening August 15th, this is also a good time for you to go into your groups and your system and kind of do some house cleaning, right? If you got groups you're not using anymore, it's a good time maybe to send me an email and say, hey, Bart, there's certain groups I don't need anymore. Can you just go ahead and get rid of these for me? Just contact KLMS support at ironworkersinternational.org. Also, if you have any users that are no longer using the system, you can disable them yourselves, but you can't delete them. Only we can delete users. But we recommend kind of keeping folks in the system if you ever feel they're going to come back, so they can just pick up right back where they left off. But some folks, they're not coming back. So if you can send us any users that aren't coming back, that you don't want on the system anymore, send them to KLMS support, and we'll go ahead and get those users off here. We pay a license for it's based on how many seats are used in the LMS. So even if they're disabled, they still count against our seat license. So the more folks we get out of there, the more new people we can add before having to spend more money and increase our license to include more seats, which we'll have to do eventually anyway, because we keep getting more folks. So,
Bart,
yes.
With where it says active enrollments are transferred over. So if you have people enrolled in like crane and rigging classes, it'll swap over their enrollment. What about units that they've completed? Will it also register the units of that course and swap that over as well, so they don't lose their progress?
Yes, everything should be able to transfer over from one system to the next. That's what we're being told anyway, right? So if something gets screwed up, we'll still have the old LMS for a while that we could go back to double check. But yes, we're being told that all that data will be, when we pick up the new LMS the next day, it's going to be just like all the stuff will be there that you had in the old LMS. So it looks different. Why? We already talked about why. It's better for tablets. It's better for all that stuff. Configurable dashboards, that's what we're just looking at. That's this. It's kind of cool the way it works. There's even more widgets and things I haven't gotten into yet. We talked about communication. We talked about the emails that are internal to the LMS we'll have access to, which is great. What was the other thing we talked about? Oh, impersonating users. I should add that to this. Let me just add that so I know to get that in here next time. Okay, so live event classroom training. I don't know if you all remember, long-time users remember, we used to have the performance exercises in here. And instead of online exercises, they appeared as classroom exercises. It was a different little icon for them. And not many people used it. Joe's one exception. Joe, I know you used it. So after, I think Mike Ryan was in charge back then, and he decided that it was probably made the most sense to take those performance exercises off and just stick with the homework and the tests, right, on the LMS. This new system, it has an ability that we never had before, where an instructor is now able to go into an exercise and mark it as completed or not completed or passed or failed, which kind of opens things back up for the performance exercise. So we're thinking about adding them back into the LMS, and then we teach you all how to leverage that new ability or new capability. So I think it's kind of cool. We're still kind of learning about this thing, to be honest with you, about the on-the-job training events and the leader-led classrooms. But as we find out more, we'll let you know more. It also has integrations for these different technologies built right in. So it's got GoToMeeting, it's got GoToTraining, WebEx, and Zoom integrations. I haven't seen Teams on here yet. I know they use Teams here at headquarters and at my daughter's school too. But if there's any other ones that you use that we're not listing on here, send me an email at KLMS support and let me know, and I'll make sure that we're getting these integrations all included in the new LMS. Now, bear in mind, if you want to be tying this stuff all in the system, which I think makes sense, you still need to have a Zoom account. That doesn't come with the LMS, unfortunately. So, I got another person dropping in. So we'll still have to have our own accounts, but it can integrate into the LMS. That sounds really cool. It also has Outlook and Google Calendar integrations. And let's see, on-the-job training events, this gets into the, scoring by an instructor. So it's got some pretty cool stuff. Assignments, tasks, instructors can assign take-home assignments, learners can upload assignments so that instructors may grade them. That's a possibility. Multi-day sessions, live training session events can now span multiple days, and instructor-led training events can now be offered as separate standalone courses or lessons within a course. So this is what I just talked about, and I think it makes sense to maybe start taking advantage of this now with the new LMS. Now that we have this new LMS to ATS process, we're going to get more into that later. It really kind of opens things up. So maybe in the future, we're just entering everything in the LMS, and then that just transfers in the ATS for us. We no longer have to worry about that side of things. That would be wonderful. That's what we're working towards. Learning and administration, learning paths, the ability to group a series of groups or courses to make a learning path. So now, I'll set up my year one students coming in 2022 or 2023, and I'll go ahead and stack up all my courses in that group, and then I'll add my students to that group. Well, with the new learning paths, the simplest way of using that was you just set your year one enrollments up one time. Those courses, you stack them up the way you want them for year one, year two, year three, and year four if you have one. And you just do that one time, and then you just throw those into a group, throw your users into the group, and you're done. So it's going to be less back and forth having to add courses to groups. Now, the big picture wise, there's another way to use the learning paths, which we may get into down the road. So again, we want to get everybody up and running and as easy, smooth transition as possible. But this does offer some powerful new ways of doing things that we're not doing now. So let's say that there's 4 different ways to get people through an architectural and ornamental ironworker training for the entire apprenticeship across the country. Maybe there's a few different ways of doing it. We could set up international, we could set up learning paths for each of those, right? And then you could choose which one you want to use, and then you wouldn't even have to set those up anymore. So there's lots of ways to do this. And it kind of opens up a whole nother avenue of how to manage things. And basically it just means less work for everybody else. And it's just a few people get the work done and we all share the results from that work. So we'll work with you all on that when we start rolling things out like that. Document repository. Groups and communities can now each include a document repository. So you can include documents with any group that you have. You can just throw them in there, and it accepts PowerPoint slides, it accepts videos. It's pretty cool what it accepts. So that's also pretty powerful feature that we can leverage as well. Reporting. You guys all run reports. That's how we get the data out of the LMS. The new reporting feature is even better than the old one. It's more powerful than it was. It's faster. So we think you'll like the new reporting, and it pretty much works the same. And we'll show you the reporting in a little bit. This is real geek speak here, man, but I'll walk you through it. Cloud-based scalable multi-tenant architecture. The system is backed by Microsoft ASP.NET SQL servers, hosted in a state-of-the-art Amazon Web Services technology. It is designed to be a true multi-tenant system that is very scalable and robust. The use of the latest technologies and processes allows the system to stay current, adapt to changing standard, and to scale efficiently. There you go, man. So if you understood half of that, you're doing better than me. But it just means this is built with all the latest stuff, and it's going to help us stay with the system longer into the future because it's going to scale with our needs. And then, of course, we talked about training. You know, we've got it coming for the 38th annual Ann Arbor. I hope as many of you are coming as possible. If there are any folks on the call right now who kind of work as a office administrator at your local and help support your local with the LMS, and you want to be included, Hi, Richard. In the trainings, talk to your local coordinator, and you know, you're welcome to join us. We've had that happen many times in the past. Anybody is welcome who's using the LMS to come and take the training with us. So now we could walk through a little bit of the system. The good news is, you know, getting new users in the system hasn't changed a bit. It's still the same way we've always done it. As you know, we go to, I'll open a new browser tab. And I was just punching iwuser.com. And it brings up this handy little Google form. And we ask that you fill these out and not the students, so we get accurate data the first time around. It goes faster that way. And you just answer all these basic questions. And when you're all done, you hit the submit button, and it takes 1 to 2 business days for these requests to get through. We vet the information at the headquarters. And once it's vetted and it's all good, we upload the users into the LMS. Now, if you're a really big Excel spreadsheet user, and or you have a lot of members, like some of the West Coast locals, they're putting in like hundreds of people at once instead of a handful, contact us at KLMS support, and we will send you the new user spreadsheet. It's the exact same data. You just enter it in a spreadsheet instead, send it to us, and we do them all at once, and you're good.
Hey, Bart,
Yes.
there's a question I can't answer. Sean has asked, will they have access to this new LMS before it is turned over?
That's an excellent question, Sean. We could do that. The confusing thing is that what I'm showing you here, this LMS Plus, it's kind of a snapshot. They took a snapshot of the existing LMS back in April, I think. And so it's whatever you do in here, it's going to eventually all be lost. So I'm hesitant to to provide everybody access with it, because I'm afraid that folks are going to go in there and start getting into it and they're going to be, oh man, and they start doing all this stuff and you realize, oh shit, when I do that transfer, I lose everything. It all gets wiped out. So what's going to happen? Excuse me a second, my phone's going nuts over here. So when we reach the date of making the big transfer, let's say it's August 15th, that weekend, the developers are going to go out there and take a fresh snapshot of our existing LMS. And then that's all the data that's going to be transferred over into the new system. And that's why it all gets wiped out. So whatever is here now will all be gone and it's going to be all new stuff. But let me think about that. And if I'll talk to the powers that be here, and everybody thinks it's a good idea, then I can always send access to everybody who's taken this class, and you can go out there and try it yourselves. So I'm making a note of to myself right now. And I believe we can set it up so that your existing username and password will still work, or whatever it was in April would still work. So yeah, let me ask Lee and the folks here and see what they have to say about that. So thanks, it's a great question. Yes, it is easy to run reports. The reports feature is great, and we're going to run through that in a minute. Joe, are there any other questions I should be looking at here?
I have a question.
Yes.
Is there going to be a user manual available before August?
That is another excellent question. So yeah, we're working on a document now that's almost ready for the Ann Arbor training, but it's not a user manual per se. We do have a user manual. The problem is it's so broad. It talks about things that we don't even use because it's a very general document made for all the people who use this LMS across the country. But we'll have something for you. I'm not sure if it's really a user manual. We'll probably have that ready by the time we're actually in Ann Arbor in June or July.
Okay, I only asked because we are sending some of our instructors out there, but unfortunately they're not registered for the LMS class, and I'm not going this year. So we wanted to know if there was anything that we can give to our instructors so they can kind of catch up with all this new stuff.
Yeah, we'll have something for you.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Bart, let's just add to it. It's Joe. The system, everything that's in the existing system it works exactly the same. It just looks different. And Bart, you ought to go into that. That'd put a lot of people at ease.
Yeah, let's go ahead. That's my next step, is getting into my dashboard. Joe, do you want to run that?
Yeah, let me see.
Set up too. I can do it.
Let me double check. I was before I stepped out of the room. Yes, I'm good.
Okay, because I'm having trouble for some reason. I'm either a super admin or a student, and I know you can get in as a local admin. So I'm going to take my document away, and I will let you share. So we're going to get into Joe's PC now. He's going to share his screen, and he can walk us through some of the processes and some of the basics on the user interface. And you know, it's all the same basic stuff we had before. It's just arranged a little bit differently than we had it before on the old system.
So my old account is here. So everybody's old account looks here, and then the new account.
Are folks seeing Joe's system? I'm not seeing it for some reason.
You can't see the new one because I can't share the.
Oh, we can see it.
You can see the new, let me get to my dashboard from my account. Oh man, come on. Let me sign back in. Practice all this stuff before we go live, Tom Bart. Cancels you out. Let me get back in.
Okay.
um,
Oh, I see it now. Okay.
yeah.
I know
The
Zoom always
system-
kicks me out of full screen mode and back into it. I get confused.
All right, so in my old account, it was an account that you were looking at your screen, and now they call it my dashboard. The widgets that I'm enrolled in, that Bart went over. But as administrators, let's just get to the administrator part. Everything as in the old system, the enrollments and everything were on the left. You kind of hang to the left. In the new system also, we as administrators will not have this settings. We will not have that. We will have the users and groups. In the old system, in the existing system, it's just called users and groups. It's called users and groups here too. You still add your groups by hitting the plus sign or clicking on the groups. You still add your group. You still have to email KLMS to get your permissions for your groups. The users, you still look up the users the same way. So none of it's changed. It just looks a little different. We will not have the interface and layout. The next one down is course catalog. These were the tabs across the top. We will not have, as coordinators and administrators, we will not have the content package or the quizzes and surveys. Cool step, but that's up for international.
But you will have courses, so you could click on courses and just see a list of all the courses that exist in the system, which is kind of handy sometimes.
Right, we have that in the existing. And then the learning paths is new. So instead of our groups, some of us put our groups together with the courses and add the apprentice or the member to it as a type of learning path. Others have the group, the member, and add the courses to it. So now they call it a learning path. So we will have that. And then the next is the reports. And there was a good question on the reports. Is it any easier? The reports are the same. The fields and how you pick them are different. So if you want to add a report, you still have to go to course transcripts. And I say it's faster. It is faster.
And you can see all Joe's save reports in that column on the right.
I had problems with this morning with my guys in my district council.
I think you click right on the name user, or
Yeah.
click on that too.
Yeah.
That'll work too.
So here's how we pick our fields and filters. So before it was a drop down menu and add or a check mark on the left, and we just move them over on what we want on our headers across our
And notice how they've got things better organized now. It was always organized from like user information to course to lesson to interactions, but it didn't specify that in the list. Now at least they say, hey, this is course information, user information is above that with that bold text. It's a little bit better organized than it was before. And I think it's pretty easy to pick all the ones you want and add them over to the right column. And that shows all the ones you have chosen on the right.
so
And
that,
now the new system uses module in lieu of lessons. Before it was courses and lessons. Now it's courses and modules. And so it gets more granular as you go down. So we go from courses to modules to interactions to objectives. So you could see in interaction, you could actually see every single question, every response, every choice for each question if you ever wanted to see that.
Are there any questions with any of that?
And then the filters is now in a different tab. So Joe, why don't you show us the filters?
So after we figure out what we want on top of our columns, then filters is in a different tab. And it's in a drop down. So the full name is not, contains.
And you could pick full name. You could also pick group like you did before. It pretty much works the same way. Oh, and by the way, the search filter is better now. It's more like Google, where you can put like part of somebody's name or first name and last name. Before you couldn't put in first name and last name, we would get confused. So now the search is much better than it was before as well.
So the difference I find with the filters is in group, when you had contains in the old or in the existing LMS, you could go over here and the groups were in a drop down. And they're not in a drop down now when it's in contains. You have to physically type it in. That was our question from last time. Can we get that into a drop down, Bart?
We still haven't talked to the developers since then. We have a thing scheduled, I think, for next week. So we'll ask them that then.
Yeah, just a reminder, simple reminder.
Yeah, thank you. And that is basically if we choose group and equals, it was a drop down, right? Group equals
Yeah, and equals isn't there.
drop down. Okay.
So the filters are the same, just a little different appearance. I mean, you can put whatever you have in there. You can put as many filters as you still want. Still run your reports. Oh. That
Doesn't like empty ones.
really?
Mm-mm.
So that's new to me. So I know here's what the problem is. I have this in the wrong area. This should be in a group.
Yeah, you should probably take away those
Oh,
full
really?
name. Yeah, the full name ones. You don't want those.
You have, so that's new then, because in the existing LMS, I can have I don't need empties. That's interesting. No, there's something else going on, but there's something else going on.
Why don't you take Armando away and see what happens? Or course contains maybe would be better. Instead of is, yeah.
And here I say, here I answered the question. And the same. Yeah, there's something in there now. No, should run the same. Should run the same.
It will.
How about or? If you use ors instead of ands? I don't know.
You're saying that Armando's full name is Armando.
Right, but in the old LMS, when I have full name, I can look under just Armando or his last name or both, and it comes up. In the old LMS, it comes up.
But even if you use is equal to equals, so you'd want to say contains. Mm-hmm. Now you should get some more love. It's just different enough to throw you. You got a fish in
Yeah,
the line now, Joe.
yeah. So that's just things we gotta watch. It's basically the same. I gotta watch my, yeah, there it is. The is,
There it is.
there it is.
Now I find that for Brian Tannehill, he does these 2CB rigging signal person certification exams on a secure LMS. And at the end of each year, he has me run a report that basically goes through all the exams for the entire year that have been taken. Plus, he wants granular data. He wants to see every single person's response, what options were available, what the correct response is, all in one report. And it's such a big report that I used to have to break it up into like 6 or 8 parts and run certain dates at a time. Otherwise, it's more than the LMS can handle. With this new one, I can just run it all in one report and it just works. So it can handle more information as well than the old one could. Which is nice.
And so another new tab on the reports is order. And I haven't played with that at all.
No, I haven't tried that yet.
That's new, so we'll have to get into that. And then another tab is properties, and I have not, well, the public and private is in the old. So I guess this is where you name the report. That's new. It's where you name the report
And save it.
and save it. And that's in the old under a different.
Just a different way of looking at it. Yeah. So that's all good stuff. What about LMS to ATS? Is now a good time to look at that? You think we've gotten
So we're
through
in the
enough for
report.
this?
The report's in the old, and I'll say should this time.
Oh, hey,
Run.
Joe, why don't you show that message center real quick before you get off of this?
Oh. So the message center for coordinators to whoever is a tab across the top. It's how it comes across. There should be a compose, just like email to. We've been playing back and forth, but you can send it to anybody in your group.
Or to a group.
Or to a group. So I wanted to pick Bart out. I did it last time. You could pick a person. Bart's in there a couple times, or you can pick by group. Pick the group out.
Or more than one group.
And have, you know.
So if you wanted to send a message to all the people in your local, you could just use your local student group. That's got everybody in there. Or you could just pick one of your other enrollment groups.
And send it. Piece of cake. Goes to that group or that person. To me, that's a neat feature.
I think that will help out too with those instructor-led training sessions for performance exercises. If I can let my people know that this class is available at such and such a time, go sign up for it. That would be a big help to be able to do it right in the LMS.
So that's a cool feature, I think. So then from there, if we want to go LMS to ATS, we go back to the original LMS. We go into reports. And I got to log back in.
And the reason why Joe's switching back is we haven't created this report in the new LMS yet, but we will.
So in the existing LMS, if everybody goes to reports and down to Republic ports or public ports, reports, there Bart has created a report.
I think this is J&J or something like that, right? Or it's
Yeah,
for you and
That was
Jason.
just on there, right?
There it
So
is,
right
JJ.
here, this JJ 2022-03828. It's in public reports. Everybody's got it.
And again, we're going to continue to update this and refine it. So it's not really final yet. We're still working on it. But as soon as we have one that's, you can try it if you want to. It's not going to hurt anything. You can run reports all you want. All they do is pull data. So, but as soon as we get it refined and finalized, we'll send you an update.
So right now, Jason Willie's got his local in there. You put your local in there. I'll put mine. And it's set up in the filters of lesson success, past, and codes, anything with a -T is a test. And you run that report.
So the way this works, the ATS and LMS look at data differently and the data is set up differently. So the LMS is a very lesson or module based system, right? It focuses on that level, that more granular than course level stuff. Plus we've got all our exams are set up as separate courses in our LMS so that all the locals have the ultimate flexibility on which exams they need to give their students to pass their particular program's version of architectural and ornamental, for example. So the LMS sees AO1 as architecture and ornamental 1, but on the LMS, AO1 is actually AO1, test 1, test 2, test 3 through unit 7, right? I think. Anyway, so what we did, we set up a spreadsheet. The spreadsheet will see the report provided by Joe's report. If he's doing AO1, it'll show AO1 tests 1 through 7. The spreadsheet will accept that information from your report. We do this at the HQ level. And then what it'll do, it'll average the scores from those 7 units for AO1 and create just one score for AO1. And then that's what gets transferred over to the ATS system. So basically your student's score right now for AO1 would be based on how they did on their tests on the LMS.
So I ran a report on the whole group. And so everything in that group, I would just I took the Excel spread file, sent it to KLMS.
And then can you show us how it looks on the ATS?
Oh man, I ain't logged into that. Let me
because it does work. So Joe just sends us the report and then we take care of the rest for you. Now we realized, so we figured this could happen at the end of any particular time period. We're thinking maybe each quarter, at the end of each quarter, locals could run these things for us and we could go ahead and get the stuff up for you on the ATS. We still haven't finalized that. Maybe it's different for different locals. I don't know. But we're thinking quarterly is certainly an easy thing to follow. The one thing we found out with running these tests was that sometimes we might have repeat data. So I might forget. I might have AO1 for one student twice. I might get in the next report too. And then we run the possibility of that recording into the ATS more than once. So then we realized if we added a time component to that report, then I could say, I only want completions of AO1 tests from the last quarter. Then it will only give me those. The
So
worst
can you
that
see
can
my
happen is
screen?
that, yes, the worst that can happen is you get duplicate data added to the ATS, and then we're still finding out whether or not if that happens, we can get that, you can delete it afterwards if it did happen. So what are you showing us now?
So do you see the ATS? This is the ATS for, that's loaded up into one of my members from that spreadsheet I sent you.
Okay,
And so you see the duplicates on there, layout, rigging, see the duplicates?
yeah,
And I don't see a way of taking them off from my end,
okay,
but I didn't do any entering. I just ran the report, sent it over in an Excel spreadsheet. Chris, how easy is that? Problem is,
So-
like we said, the timestamp, because I must have sent it over twice. And that's how we got the duplicates, but I don't see a way on my end to take them out.
not at this point. So since we're learning this, we're going to add a date component to the report on the LMS. So hopefully that'll help get around that. But still, if something gets through, we still need to find out a way with IT here to get duplicates deleted. But the worst thing that happens is it shows up twice. You still know the person's passed the course by looking at the ATS. Any questions on that?
Well, a couple little monkey wrenches to throw into that would be, I know some people have attendance as part of their final score, and some people have, you know, like the hands-on skill assessments, pass or fail. So interesting to see how you could integrate something like that into it.
It would be. I think that's something we should work on. Because again, it basically, Chris, it's just a spreadsheet. You can enter whatever you want to into it. Right now, we're showing how we could enter the LMS data, but it's possible we could add other data from other sources as well. Or if those things are somehow added to the LMS with this new system, that they come out of it as well into that report. So I think this is just the initial phases of this, but I'd be happy to work with you on those other things to get them added into it. So you mentioned attendance as part of the final score, and then the other thing was the performance evaluations.
Yeah, in PDC2, they go into depth about how you can structure a course to where you can weight hands-on skill assessments as pass or fail, to where if you have somebody that aces all of their coursework, but they can't do the hands-on skill assessments, they don't get a passing score. And so I know you were talking before about making it to where you would check off performance evaluations and stuff in the LMS. And I think that might kind of handle that aspect of it. It would just be, they might weight it a little differently. Like some people might count the tests as 60% of the final grade, and then the hands-on skill assessments as 40% of the final grade that way. And then most of them will have, you have to pass all skill assessments to get the full 40 points. That way somebody that aces the one can't complete the class, even though they couldn't do the hands-on skill assessments.
Can you do me a favor and just document what you just said for me and send it to me?
Yep. It's in the handbook. I'll send it to you.
In the PDC too?
E2 instructional planning.
Okay.
And there's a couple examples of it.
Okay, cool. Thank you. I appreciate that. And I will bring this up with our developers here and see what they can do for us. But I think it's exciting. You can see that there's a lot of new stuff here. There's even more things that we're not getting into right now that we can do with a system that we hope to kind of unroll as we go. As we work with it, we'll probably there's a lot of social stuff in this thing if you want it. You can have folks within any of your groups or any of your courses be able to make comments on the courses and add comments and have a social feature. And then you can also assign a moderator to that group. So not everything gets through, it has to be filtered through a moderator. And that's built in now into this new LMS Plus. We just have to decide whether or not to turn it on or leave it off. So, if you have thoughts on these things, send us an email to KLMS support and let me know your thoughts, because we're taking people's ideas into consideration when we make these decisions. And again, we want to make the initial rollout pretty much the same as it was, and then we'll start bringing on new features as we go. But that's a pretty cool feature, and it's not that hard to just flip the switch and turn it on. It's just something we've never used in the past. So there's a very social aspect to this, and you can see too with the notifications and things, just become a communication tool more than it ever was before. So it's up to us how we want to leverage those features. What is, let's see, Sean asks, is there volume yet? Oh, I'm sorry, that's audio. I was thinking volume purchasing or something. Oh, something we didn't talk about, Joe, as well, is the pay for courses, right? So right now in the LMS, there's pay for courses available for self-enrollment. And this has been removed from the LMS. The reason being is because now Impact offers all of those OSHA courses and more on the Impact LMS, and they provide 100% reimbursement for those courses. So if you have people that are still wanting to access those OSHA courses, have them talk to your local Impact person about getting onto it through Impact. So that's good to know. It's a nice feature. They're offering all the titles that we offered plus. They're even offering, what was it, voice activation that New York City was using. They've got that too, and they also have Spanish versions of some of the titles on there as well. So it's a bigger offering, and it's 100% refundable by Impact, which is fantastic. So I recommend that to everybody. So it gives us one less thing to worry about. We can focus on the apprenticeship stuff and let Impact take that away. So I wanted to make you all aware of that if you weren't already, about the pay for courses. Also, there's that course catalog button on the existing LMS, and it's always bothered me because it's not really something I care about. And so now we don't have to have that button anymore available. People will just get their enrollments, and some folks were accessing the reference manual library through that, which is fine. But now they'll just access it as a course in their list. All the reference manuals will be there just like they are now, the flip books. And so that's still all good. I think we're running out of time, so I'll stop. But we're still working on stuff too. We have more of those class presentations coming. And I already mentioned the Spanish titles, so we have more of those becoming available. And we'll do our best to keep you informed when these things roll out through the coordinator listserv and eventually through notifications on the LMS. If there's any more questions, now is a good time to unmute yourselves. Don't be shy. Go ahead and speak out. If not, just want to thank you all for joining us. I appreciate it, that you're willing to learn and putting up with all this. And we're excited about this. I think you will too once you start using it. And I'm going to look into that and get back to you through the coordinator listserv as well. So thank you so much for your time, and hope we'll see you in a couple of weeks.